Hello, it's Gray.
Hello, it's Crystal.
And this is West Asian Beauty's Supernatural commentary podcast where I, someone who has seen this show many times.
And I, someone who only knows the show through social media, discuss every single episode of Supernatural from start to finish. Also, we are both Asian.
Both Asian. For today's episode, we are watching Season 6, Episode 9, Clap Your Hands If You Believe, famously written by Ben Edlund, directed by John Showalter.
Well,
did we have women this episode that Ben Edlund was weird about? I have completely forgotten this episode. Full disclosure, we watched it a week ago. Yeah. And it was fine. Was it fine?
Patchouli was there. That was a woman.
Yeah.
The hippie girl whose name I don't know.
Yeah. She didn't smell that bad, as Sam Winchester said.
There were gay people who were never on screen that Ben Edlund was weird about. I think that was the main thing this episode.
Yeah, it was the homophobia, the ableism. We don't even know what kind of hate crime this is.
Yeah.
He was trying to be like, haha, wouldn't it be so funny if it was a hate crime?
Yeah, wouldn't it be so funny if Dean Winchester was homophobic and ableist? And it's like, he is homophobic and ableist. What are you talking about?
Well, and it's not funny. This episode was pretty funny though. Sometimes it was just normal to bad. Normal to bad.
Yeah,
but
this is true.
Okay. This is a famous episode. Why is it famous? Like,
because of the homophobia.
Is that it? Are you
because Soul Sam is iconic in it.
That's true. That is probably the reason why. Soul is Sam. And I'm sure there's a lot of crossover between X-Files and Supernatural fans. Mm-hmm. And so the intro to this episode must have been a fun thing. It's a fun thing. It's memorable. Also, they put Misha Collins in there, and Castiel is literally not in this episode. Unbelievable. Yeah. Why would they lie to us like this?
They were just calling him gay. That's the point of putting him in the credits.
Sure, why not? I do think it's fun that they have does Sam believe in aliens? Sam is the alien believer, I would say.
Well, you should check Tall Tales.
Or do they both not believe in aliens? Well, Sam believed in aliens for a while, and Dean also did, I suppose, this episode. Honestly, I love the bit about this episode where the reason why Dean was experiencing all those horrors was because he was the firstborn son. Love it. Right. Love it.
Sam and Dean both express that they don't think aliens are real in Tall Tales.
That's true. So Cass is the alien. That is the point of the introduction. Yeah. They were like, we have two guys who don't believe in aliens and some guy who's an alien. And that's my point.
Good for him.
It is so wonderful that Cass is an alien. Isn't that so nice?
Yeah.
Or does he not count?
Is heaven another planet?
I think it's extraterrestrial.
I don't know. It's only for people who die on Earth, though.
Yeah, but angels don't necessarily have to have been on Earth. So,
right.
Therefore, they are extraterrestrial. If people went to Mars, would you be like, oh, and this creature from Mars is not an alien anymore because people from Earth are in Mars?
But heaven was created specifically for dead people,
How do you know that? We don't know. We don't know.
Is it not just an extension of Earth?
Is it really?
I sort of view it that way.
I don't think that's true, or is it? A wonderful question. What did you know about this episode before going in?
Dean yells, fight the fairies, and gets taken in by a cop for homophobia. He also gets abducted by aliens, but they are fairies.
What's crazy is I thought that was because of homophobia, because I know of the hashtag.
Yeah.
The like I never really remembered that
But
it was he beat a guy up for it. And that is like the guy is like a little person, and that's why the cop goes like, I don't even know what kind of hate crime this is. It was that part of it was erased in my mind. Unbelievable. Because of that damn hashtag. Because of that dumb hashtag that trended because it was homophobic.
Sam talks to a woman whose name we don't get, but who Dean calls Patchouli, and says that his brother got kidnapped once, but he's over it. And she goes, did it happen when you were a child? And he says, no, like 30 minutes ago. And then he sleeps with her, and Dean says, what the hell, while I was kidnapped? And Sam goes, well, I did all I could to try to get you back. What did you want me to do? Just sit in the dark and feel bad? And Dean goes, yeah! That's what I knew about this episode.
Well, what I knew about this episode was that I didn't know what the quote-unquote monster was. I truly didn't. I just knew
Why
that
do you think
this
he's
is
saying that?
I mean, I don't know. Like, okay, here's what I thought was gonna happen. It was gonna be aliens, but it's not aliens. It was gonna be fairies, but it's not fairies. And then it's something else. That's what I thought.
Okay.
But I thought it was also a red herring, the fairies. But they were not red herrings. They were real as hell. I thought it was a completely other episode, the counting sugar. Because that one I remember vividly. Like Sam ripping open a sugar packet and the monster of the week bending down to count it.
So going, why didn't I just do this in the first place?
And he was so real. Anyway, so that's what my shoddy memory did for me this episode. And now let's begin. So for the dance sequence, actually, I have something to point out, which is that they like butcher the speech Sam gives at the end of last episode. I feel a little bit. Because for the dance sequence, they make it seem like he's just saying like, I don't care about you. I don't care about Lisa and Van. Like, they remove the comedic aspects of it. And so the blow is that much more stronger. And then also, like, they cut it in a way where Sam isn't really explaining himself. Like, it's important to me and to the supernatural universe that statement ends with, like, that's why I want to get my soul back. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, it's cut for purposes to make Sam seem ominous and etc. etc. How dare they? How dare they do this to my beloved Sam Winchester? But it's fine. He's hilarious this episode.
He's really funny this episode, but again in a way that seems over the top.
Yes.
Like, Ben Edlund just went really hard in that he's completely mean and doesn't think about anything. Like, he was able to feign social skills in the past, and there's no reason for him to have stopped now for this case.
Yeah. And, like, with Dean specifically, I think the argument that they were trying to make was he was being fake with Dean, and now he's being for real. But they're making it seem like he doesn't understand when it's very clear from past episodes that he does understand, or like a lot of the times, like he gets why he shouldn't say that, he gets why he should do this instead. But the way he would talk to Dean was like, no, Dean, explain to me why, etc., etc., etc. And it's like, I don't think they would have done that.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I do feel they exaggerate it to make it funny. Unfortunately, it is hilarious.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Okay, so we start the episode in like a lover's lane situation, but instead of smooching in the car, they're literally on the ground. They're like in a cornfield, right?
Yeah.
And then there's like some sound, some ominous shadows passing by. And the guy is like, well, what the fuck is this? So he gets up, he heads into the hedge. There's like a giant fucking light, a la how we think alien abductions are supposed to look like. And he gets abducted, and we get the splash screen, which is not simply a splash screen, But an X-Files credits roll. That's very fun. I do wonder why Supernatural does not have that. Like, it just has a splash screen. Like, what was the choice that was made in is it the writer's room? Is it the production team? Well, that was like, we're not going to do a credits roll at the beginning.
I think it's just more impactful for horror for there to be sort of a jump scare splash screen then go back.
That's probably true. You don't give
people time to calm down between the cold open and the rest.
I suppose so.
For mysteries, you want it to be long for people to go, I wonder what's happening.
Yeah, that's true. Because what I was thinking about was House MD has a pretty long intro.
Yeah, that they never ever change, even though those people are barely characters in later seasons.
They changed the music for it at some point.
Yeah, but it's still like Cameron, Chase, Foreman. Like, only Foreman's still here.
Is that true? I think they changed it. They don't.
I don't know. I'm sure there's different credits versions in different platforms.
My friend who has been watching House MD is now at the part where Taub is a friend who is your enemy. And that is so important. I think everyone should have a post-antagonistic relationship with Dr. Taub.
Yeah. I mean, he deeply sucks, but it was really funny of him to have two babies at the same time.
Literally.
Not as twins, because he was cheating on his wife with a nurse.
I don't even remember.
It was his ex-wife, but he was still sleeping with her.
And that's important. Divorce is the most romantic thing in the world.
It is. The X-Files credits say created by Eric Kripke, and there's no Sarah Gamble shout-out at all, which feels mean.
Well, I mean, it was created by Eric Kripke. Maybe they were just following the format of X-Files. I suppose, not seen
they never had a showrunner.
Yeah, I've never seen a single X-Files episode.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, all I know about it is there's an episode where there's a shapeshifter who, like, makes out with Mulder or something, and then, like, they never talk about it again, that he was down for it. I love queerbait.
No, I love straight. That's the only thing I know about X-Files is that they were straight baiting to hell and back, and that's the most important thing. The second most romantic thing after divorce is straight baiting.
Yeah, where's queerbaiting?
I think queerbaiting is at like a 2.5. You know, like queerbaiting is only an offshoot of straight baiting in my mind.
Yeah. Okay. So true. Yeah, we have a bunch of interviews from people talking about the alien abduction, and apparently there's been multiple in this town, and there's a lot of believers here and a sheriff who's like, it's literally not.
The way it's filmed is like, it's like a documentary style.
Yes.
And then at the end of it, we realize that it's like they're talking to Sam and Dean. But it is quite disconcerting to watch it, thinking that like, oh, it's like the beginning of a documentary, because it's like people being like, there are evidences. And then the girlfriend from the cornfield just being like, they took him, like she's in distress. Yeah. And then it's interspersed with all these people being like, ooh, aliens. And then this girl going, they took my boyfriend. And it's like, you know, it's a bit, that's the comedy of the scene.
Yeah.
And then it ends and they're interviewing these people.
So Marianne says, of course it's not UFOs, it's fairies. We'll see her later. And and Sam immediately chews into her, saying, if you want to add glitter to that glue you're sniffing, that's fine, but don't dump your wackadoo all over us. We'd rather not step in it.
Which is crazy, because, like, for Sam and Dean, it is more likely to be fairies. Yeah. Like, it is like a giant leap for it to be
woman
aliens.
And fairies are considered girly. I think that's literally it. Like the whole scene where they're in her parlor and they're like, oh my god, it's disgusting that we're drinking from small teacups. Like, get over yourself.
I do think this is culturally insensitive, and I mean that solemnly. Like, it is culturally insensitive to talk about fairies this way. It is.
Yeah. What, Ireland?
I mean, yeah, but also there are
with the
many
leprechaun.
places in the world who have similar concepts of like the girly whatever. I can't believe that it's classified as girly. Like, I don't know. People are fucking corny as hell. Why? Because they're small? Is it like a Thumbelina situation? Like, why is it considered corny?
Associated with fairy tales, and men don't know about Cinderella, remember?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if I say Thumbelina to Dean, Sam would go, oh, I know her. She's my friend. And Dean would say, you're gay as hell.
I mean, currently Sam is saying you're gay as hell.
You know what's so frustrating? I was gonna reserve this for later because I have a big thing about it. But it is so disconcerting to me that this entire episode, Sam is portrayed as not giving a fuck, having no sensitivity whatsoever. But when it's time to make a gay joke, he's so uncomfortable. Like, they portray him as, like, so uncomfortable to make it funny. And it's like, I thought he didn't give a fuck. Why is he now so uncomfortable? I don't know.
Sam was straight, but then without his soul, he's gay.
No, I think what they were doing was that Sam without his soul, like, they believe that, like, homophobia transcends soullessness. It transcends soullessness. So, like, you can be soulless, you're still homophobic.
So true. He also says the only thing you're missing is a couple dozen cats, sister. I don't think he would talk like this.
Have you considered that it's actually gay to speak like this, Sam Winchester? Maybe he is
so
gay.
now we're back to the Sam is gay without his soul.
Yeah, maybe he is gay without his soul. We're gonna go back and forth on this.
Alright, sounds good. Dean pulls him away, and Sam's like, I don't understand what I did wrong there. And Dean's like, you're so stupid, but I guess because you're soulless, this is correct that you wouldn't know why this is a wrong thing to say. Dean's like, you need to be empathetic, because old Sam would have, and you have to care. And Sam's like, what do you mean? And Dean, about what? And Dean goes, about everything, man. About being human, at least.
There's also a part where Sam goes like, old Sam had a soul, or was a soul, I don't know. Which is very fun. Oh yeah,
that was fun. I did like that.
Supernatural never really answers that, I don't think. Well, they do. They answer it with, you have a soul. You're not a soul. Which is, like, fascinating. Completely. So when you die and your soul goes to heaven or hell, like, what happens to you?
I don't know.
Your body's also there, but your body's on earth decomposing. I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah, Sam goes like, look, Dean, you obviously care a lot, and that's great. But I can't care about what I can't care about. Like, do you want me to fake it? And Dean goes, yes.
Love it.
Yeah. This is an interesting dynamic, and I like it, but I don't have anything else to say about it.
I mean, it is, like, because we have been going with, like, parallels, etc. Or, like, not parallels, like, allegories. We have been doing an allegorical reading of Sam's soullessness. I think it does come at this point where it's not really allegorical anymore. I suppose it could be allegorical to, like, psychopathy.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
I don't know. I don't really have much to say to other than, I don't know, fake it till you make it. So true, I guess. But, like, the thing is, Sam's never gonna make it unless he gets his soul back. So what is the game plan? And, like, they haven't really worked on getting the soul back, I suppose.
I mean, they did last episode. It was, do something for Crowley and hope you can get the soul back.
It is about, this episode airs in November 19. So I think it's about to be the break very soon. And I do wonder when they do the break. Like, what happens?
Heat is a pretty big episode, right?
What?
Caged Heat 610?
Yeah. That's the one
called?
with Cass and Meg. Yeah. So, like, maybe that.
Yeah. Crowley's there too, so I'm assuming a big soul development happens, so that's a good time for a break. Dean does come across as fantasy ableist and real ableist in this episode. Yeah, Dean tells him to fake it because if you want to be a real boy, you gotta act the part. But, like, he's not gonna be a real boy until you get his soul back.
Well, I do think he mentions earlier that, like, you should care because Sam with the soul would have. And, like, I think an approach to this would be when you get your soul back, you're going to feel real bad about how you've been acting.
Maybe so, yeah.
And, like, I think that is an approach, but Supernatural never really leans into that. Which is what I think the most reasonable thing to be saying to Sam is now, because he talks a big game about wanting to get his soul back and that there are feelings during that time that were like harder but also more rewarding. And it's like, well, if you know, when you get your soul back, you'd want to feel a little bit good about it.
Yeah. But yeah, Sam says that he was faking it, like he was picking every single word when they were together, and it was exhausting. Which I could believe, except, again, we've seen Sam doing investigations alone during episodes where he's working a case with Dean. And, like, he was fine. He was not particularly insensitive. So, and that was just so the audience didn't know that something was up, or only knew a little bit that something was up. But yeah, it just doesn't work because of past events that we have seen. Dean says that he'll just be Sam's conscience the whole time, his Jiminy Cricket, because Sam's a freaking puppet. So they go to interview Mr. Brennan, who is the father of Patrick, who got abducted. And he says that Patrick was taken after Sam says he disappeared. And he keeps going like, I don't want to talk to you because you can't help me because Patrick's never, ever coming back. And they think that it's suspicious that he feels so sure about this. But he says, no, it's because after 72 hours, the odds of finding a missing person is like 0, and it's been weeks. And after Sam and Dean leave, we see Mr. Brennan talk to somebody we can't see going, is that all right? Like, did what I say, like, was that fine? Was it not too much information? And outside, Dean thinks that Mr. Brennan is hiding something.
I honestly, because as you remember, I didn't know it was gonna be the fairies for real. I thought the watch was possessed. Like, I thought he put his son in the watch.
Oh, like, that would be fun.
Very fun. Very fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and also to be clear, this guy makes watches. Yeah. And there's, a little workshop that he lives in or stays in a lot. So Sam and Dean split up. Dean's gonna check out the cornfield, and Sam will stay back and watch Mr. Brennan. And Dean goes, but do not engage with, maim, or in any way kill Brennan. Don't make any judgment calls. If anything happens, call me. And Sam's like, okay, fine, but I was fine alone, like, for a whole year.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they split up.
It is hilarious that he was like, don't kill anyone. Love that. Dean goes to the crop circles, as he said. Stuff starts happening. Like, he's calling Sam, and they're talking about the case. Sam is like watching the guy in a bar and the guy's just drinking. But then suddenly Dean gets fucking UFO'd. And there's just a fucking UFO and he's being chased and he's running. And like Sam is a little bit interested, but like his general disposition is like, okay. And he's like, oh, you see something, Dean? Like, and Dean is like, yes, there's a UFO. And Sam just goes, stop yelling. Yeah, he's like, oh, you're choppy. I'm so sorry. I can't hear you.
He doesn't say, I'm so sorry.
No, he doesn't say choppy. He just says you're choppy. He says, you're breaking up. I can't catch that. Literally the gaff. Dean says close encounter, which is this a proper term? Or you know what I mean?
I don't
like,
know.
Is it the term
like,
for
yeah,
real?
would people immediately know that was about aliens?
Because Sam goes, like, what kind? First or second?
Apparently it is. In ufology, a close encounter is an event in which a person witnesses a UFO at relatively close range. Okay, level 1 is lights in the night sky. Yeah, second is, like, in the daytime you see discs. Third, there's like UFO reports with radar confirmation. Fourth is you see one for real less than 500 feet away with detail. Fifth is when there's like a physical effect, like a car malfunctioning. And sixth is when you actually see an alien or whatever.
So Sam is using a wrong scale.
Yeah. He is.
When Dean says that, like, they're after me, Sam says, third kind already. And then he goes, you better run. I think the fourth kind is a butt thing. And also, I suppose we should mention here that this episode has a lot of rape jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And specifically of this kind. Like, you're gonna get fucked in the ass rape jokes. And
well, probed in the ass, but yeah.
Yeah, but like that's the implication. It goes on until the fairies, which is crazy. Like, they were like, well, we gotta continue it at some point.
Yeah. They stopped when they were like, well, I guess it's actually gay, so now we can't.
Yeah, the fairies are real, so now it's gay for real. I don't know, it's just...
Yeah, it's unpleasant. It's
unpleasant.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, and I feel like those were mostly Dean doing those jokes in Tall Tales, but now Sam is doing them towards Dean. I mean, they do a different form of rape joke when it's fairies.
Yeah,
which is the service over on King of the Fairies thing,
and it is disconcerting because. We'll talk about it later, but there is the scene where Dean comes back and he talks about it, and he's obviously in distress. Mm-hmm. And Sam is incredibly blunt about it, and you're supposed to be like, that's funny. Like when Sam says, oh, they took you to the broming table, and Dean goes, don't say it. Or like, don't call it that or something. And it's like, well, it's not fun to watch. Well, yeah. Dean goes like, have some empathy, Sam. But then the phone dies. And Sam tries. He's like, are you there? Are you there? And then he's like, not there. So he shrugs his shoulders. And then eyes up a waitress that's passing by. You know what's so fascinating is like, soulless Sam is like... Well, okay, souled Sam is attracted to women, but he never is like hitting them up in this way.
Right.
Like, he's never like eyeing up women. It's just fascinating that now that's like when he had a soul, he didn't eye up women. Like, what conclusion are we supposed to make here?
I guess it's just, like, he wanted to, but he knew not to out of respect, and now he doesn't have that anymore.
He has no respect for women. Well, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, like the base male body wants to eye up women, but if you have a soul, sometimes you know that that's not on. It's strange.
No, but like, if I'm gonna think about it, I do find it fascinating the things that Ben Edlund in this episode has defined as part of the human experience that is not, that like, if you didn't have a filter, this is just what it's like.
Yeah, being homophobic.
Being homophobic is one of
disrespecting
them.
women.
And being misogynist. And like, I do think it is representative of a worldview.
Yeah,
that
and
is
perhaps himself, too.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to avoid saying that. But yeah. Like, it's representative of a worldview that he has.
That he has and acts upon or wishes he could act upon.
Yeah, it's just it's a weird thing to do, personally, I think. And something I think it's weird because I don't agree with it. So.
Mm-hmm. I guess, Sam's just doing a lot of things that Dean does also, though.
Yeah, like, Dean Winchester is an interesting example of, like, he is representative of an uninhibited man. But he's so inhibited, like, like, you as an audience, you're supposed, like, I think if you're trying to do what do you call it when you're watching and then, there's a term, right? You're watching and the guy's like being so cool and then you're watching because he's so cool. I completely forgot the term.
I don't know.
There is! You know it! We've used it so many times, I'm just blanking now.
Power
like,
fantasy?
Is it voyeur? No, there's like a voyeur, like you're riding the coattails. I can't believe I can remember that term, but not whatever the fuck this is. Well, that is what Dean is. You're something that ends with ly, like egregiously watching, but egregious is not the term. You're
vicariously
watching. You're egregiously vicariously watching. And, like, you're supposed to, like, I think if you're supposed to be vicariously watching Dean, you're supposed to think that he's, like, so cool and so uninhibited. Like, look at him. He's divorced from social norms and, like, expectations, and he can just be cool and hunt monsters and be violent and have sex with women. But, like, you look at his character and he's the most repressed man alive. Like, what's that about?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, I don't know, it's just, this is like a thing that, like, now that we're seeing Sam,
is Dean really that repressed?
Uninhibited, I think so. Very much so.
Like, I don't know. Like, I'm sure it's true because I've said it before too, but I just don't remember when he was.
Maybe repressed is not the term, but he is definitely always putting on a show of some kind, which is the opposite of uninhibited. Like, if you're uninhibited, you're supposed to not think of those consequences or that, like, image of yourself that you're presenting to the world. You're not supposed to be caring about that. But Dean cares so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And his fantasy is just being cool, you know, without trying, being effortless in it, in your masculinity. And then you look at him and he's putting in so much effort. And like, with Sam, now they are trying to portray Sam as the uninhibited man. Like, now Sam really is not putting in that much effort to come off as this embodiment of masculinity that's like, I'm working out with oil on my body and I'm having sex with women, you know? And I don't know, what's supernatural? What is going on? A question of all time.
Yeah. One we may never answer.
Sam does go to the crop field. He brings Dean's phone, sees it, picks it up. He's like, well, he's gone, I guess. So he goes to like a UFO night. Like it's a bunch of mobile homes. Is that what it's called? There must be another term.
Trailers?
Trailers, yeah. There's a bunch of trailers, and they have set up around a circle area where they're talking about UFOs and stuff. So Sam comes in to the guy that they were interviewing earlier. His name is Wayne. We'll see him later again. And he's like, okay, well, they're real. He asks for, like, what do we do? How do we get them? So Wayne hands him, like, the literature, and Sam scrolls through it, or, like, shuffles through it. Flips through it? Sam flips through it. And he is like, well, what the ever the fuck is this? Because there's no way to kill anything that is listed down in here. The only essential thing to know about everything. Yeah. And also, like, I can't believe that after 30 years, all you have is this stupid shit. He's like, he's really coming down into this guy. And then at some point, the lady that we were talking about earlier comes in.
Her name is Sparrow.
Was it really?
That's what the transcript says. I don't remember her introducing herself, though.
Yeah.
It might just be in the credits.
Sam has been talking about Dean, about how his brother was abducted. And she goes like, oh my God, like, that's so sad. And he's like, no, it's okay. I've had time to process it. And she goes, did it happen when you were kids? And he goes, no, just 30 minutes ago. They share, you know, a smile, a look even. After, like, Sam demolishes the guy that he's talking to. We go back to the cornfield. Dean is there. He, like, not wakes up. He just shows up there. He's just there again. And he's, like, he has a gun out and he's, like, wildly pointing it to places. And then he walks to the motel. And when he gets there, he turns on the light and Sam's having sex. And he turns around and he goes, Dean. And the lady is like, oh my God, you're Dean. Sam, they brought your brother back. Love it. Sparrow is about to head out when she turns around and she's like, oh my God, Dean, like, I know it's like, you know, family time, etc. But I was just wondering, like, what happened? What were they like? And Dean dismisses her and closes the door on her. And Sam's like, wow, I can't believe that you're so upset. Well, no, he just says, he is using statement terms. He says, you're upset. So true. Dean says, I was abducted. Also maybe true. And you were banging patchouli. And Sam goes, I don't think she smelled that bad. I don't even know what patchouli is. Does it smell bad? Or is it like an herb or something that's associated with hippies?
Yeah, I guess it's a species of plant. So probably.
It's like an earthy smell. They have terrifying looking flowers. Look at these.
Yeah, they do look like mold.
Terrifying. Dean is mad because he was abducted by aliens and Sam the gaff. Dean also conveys that he was just gone for an hour. And half of that time he spent walking to the motel. And Sam's like, that's not true. You're lying to me because you have been out the entire night. It's 4 a.m. now. And Sam's like, yeah, it usually happens. Like, there's a time slip and everything. Sam hands Dean a drink and Dean starts talking. And he says, you know, there's like this white light. And he's obviously like struggling to get his words out. So Sam pats him in the knee and goes, "Don't, it's okay." And then like nods sagely and goes, "It's a safe room." He's so stupid. It is so stupid that they're doing this, but it is very fun.
Mm-hmm.
And as Dean, but like again, as we mentioned, the context of the situation, like it is the comedy that they were trying to do is that Dean is having a serious moment, and Sam's being incredibly direct about everything, which is what happens here. When Dean is like, "Oh, they were taking me to a table," and Sam goes, "A probing table," and Dean goes, "No, don't say that out loud." Dean says he started like hacking and firing, etc. And then he was back on Earth. And I do wonder how this translates to now. Like, now that we know that it's fairies. Like, they just made him see something else?
Well, he said that... Well, he didn't see anything that was, like, deceptive. Like, he said that they were all, like, so bright, glowing white lights that, like, he couldn't tell who the figures were. And the fairy we see later is a very small, glowing white light. Yeah. Until, like, Dean is able to see closer, right? So...
Yeah, but they also had some guy who was a guy.
Well, yeah, I guess they were taking human form on the Earth, but that was, like, after they were, like, summoned or whatever, right? So, like, wherever they are, they could just be, like, bright lights to the human eye. But yeah, I guess I don't know why they wanted him on the table, though. Like, it's not clear what the fairies want with abductees. Yeah.
Anyway, now they go to a diner. And as they're talking, Dean's like, "Unbelievable. Aliens, real. What else is real? Unbelievable." And this entire time, Sam kind of the gaff, and then like a waiter comes in. And he gives her like a, "How you doing?" And Dean's like, "Wait, why are you doing that?" The reality is collapsing around us and you're flirting with a waitress. And Sam goes, "Okay, let's finally talk about the fact that I slept with that girl. So I have no soul." And oh no, he says, "Say you've got a soul and your brother gets abducted by aliens." And Dean's like, "Well, you try everything to bring him back." But Sam goes, "No, but I did that. But then there were no more leads for the night. So like, I'm just supposed to suffer and sit there in the dark. Like, there's nothing else that could be done." And Dean's like, "Yes, you're supposed to sit there and suffer in the dark. And you sit and you feel the loss," is what he says. Mm. And Sam says, "Well, can't I do all that and also sleep with a hippie chick?" And Dean says no. And Sam says, "It'd be in the dark," which is so a hilarious good line. That is my best line, as I now say. Loved it. Mm-hmm. And Dean says, "You can't do that because you would be suffering."
Sam's literally right, though.
I think Dean is also literally right. That like,
he's right in that you would be suffering. It'd be hard for
your soul
if you
wouldn't let you. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that there's no
if you're not
moral
suffering,
high ground to suffering in the dark at night.
Yeah. Sam says, "So you're saying that having a soul equals suffering?" Oh, so like when you call Lisa almost a million times, that's like what it's about. It's like you're saying that that's a good thing, like suffering is a good thing. And Dean says, "I'm saying it's the only game in town." I agree with him. Unfortunately, I know you just said that you shouldn't suffer in the dark, but like, it is what it is. You kind of do suffer. You don't have to, and there's no moral high ground to it, but it is what it is.
I mean, you don't have to, and also there are exercises for distress, like, relief.
I know, but sometimes it's like, it feels good to suffer, which is what, you know?
No, I agree with that. But that doesn't need to be a universal whatever,
So what Dean is saying here that you're not agreeing at is that it's the only thing to do. It's to suffer.
Yeah.
That's probably true. I'd love to be miserable. Is that true? I don't think that's true.
I think when you're miserable, you say things like, I hate this, I'm miserable.
Yeah, and I don't think I am a particularly miserable person as well. Like, that's not my general disposition. I mean, about suffering, they were never wrong, the old masters, etc. You know? Like, it is, like, I think the thing here is that your suffering, you have to understand that it does not mean that other people are supposed to be suffering as well. Which is, I think, where Dean is going wrong. That's the quote I was referencing. This is about the W.H. Auden poem. Oh my god, my first poem from him that I know of. It's called Messe de Boer. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm so sorry, French people, except I'm not. Who give a fuck about the French? Am I allowed to say that, or is that actually offensive?
You're allowed to say whatever.
What languages are we allowed to be like, who give a fuck? If it's a colonizing language, that's probably fine. Yeah. Well, anyway, that poem is about how, you know, when Icarus fell, people were just walking around even though there's something marvelous happening, a boy falling out of the sky. And like, with Dean, I think that is where I think Dean has this perspective that, like, if he's suffering, Sam has to suffer. So this entire conversation is not really about Sam's suffering, it's about Dean's. And and I do think, like, the example that Sam gives of, like, but the millionth time he almost called Lisa is, like, a fascinating example because we have already established that Sam degaff about that. And that is a suffering that is not supposed to be seen as transcendental to Sam.
Right.
So that's, like, fine. It's fine that he doesn't care about that because it's not supposed to be something that he also possesses then afterwards. But, like, worry about Dean is something that he is supposed to possess, and therefore Dean's suffering at that moment is transcendental to Sam, supposedly. And so, therefore, he should also suffer, which is not something that I believe, personally. So, I suppose we do agree. I just love to say that I love to suffer even if I don't.
So true.
Yeah. I am still Catholic after everything. Dean starts seeing a guy. This is the beginning, right? He sees, like, just a guy outside. It disappears. The guy disappears.
Yeah, and he's glaring at Dean really hard.
Yeah.
And Sam can't see the guy when Dean points him out. They go back to the motel, and Dean is calling Sam, who's actually at the library. And he's just been doing UFO research, and not a lot is happening. Major Tom by David Bowie starts playing on the radio really loud, and then the lights start flickering. And then a bright ball of light flies into the room, gets really close to Dean, and he sort of squints, and he goes, "Nipples?"
I do love the music choice this scene. Like, I like the vibe of the scene. It's very fun.
The bright light hits Dean, and he yells, "Bitch!" Because now that he's seen that it's a naked woman, he knows
that it's not a son of a bitch.
Call her.
Literally.
Yeah. And he traps the fairy in a microwave and, like, puts it on, like, a bunch of minutes, and he laughs while she gets microwaved to death.
Yeah.
So Sam returns and they're both looking inside the microwave, and Sam sees nothing, but Dean sees like splattered like blood and entrails from the fairy who he microwaved. And yeah, he explains that the monster was a little glowing, hot, naked lady with nipples.
She's a hot woman.
Yeah. Do we see any female fairies for the rest of this episode?
I don't even think so.
Yeah, it's just
and also
like
everyone else
because women can't make watches and they're not hot or naked.
Women literally can all make watches in the supernatural universe. Literally.
Yeah. I don't know, very confusing to me. Ben Edlund, what even goes on? Tim goes, I'm not supposed to laugh, right? And then he does make an effort. Cause, yeah, they move on, and Sam says one of the fringe theories is that these UFO abductions are actually with ultra-terrestrials, aka fairies. And Dean agrees that that could be the case because the woman had wings. They go to Marion's trailer. Marion's the woman who was talking about fairies earlier. And her decor is like, there's a lot of like gnomes and fairies and things like that and porcelain around, a lot of knickknacks. And she's serving them tea from very small cups. And that's like a huge point of humor in this scene, yeah. I suppose, that men are drinking from small teacups.
The scene where like Jared Padalecki, and I do mean Jared Padalecki,
yeah,
drinking from the cup. It's like a very famous one.
It is. She's talking about fairies, and Dean points at one of the figurines and is like, oh, like, that's sort of like the one I killed, but he doesn't say killed. And, yeah, Marion explains that, like, tiny Santa Clauses and trolls and everything, goblins, they all count as fairies. And she seems very positive about them. And she mentions that only people who have been to fairyland can see them back in the real world. And they only take firstborn sons. We don't know why. And she says that she thinks that they're taken to Avalon to service Oberon, the king of the fairies. So, I mean, essentially sexual slavery. And there's like a moment that feels tense, but I think it's just tense because Sam's holding back laughter, and that's supposed to be the entire vibe. Where he goes, Dean, did you service Oberon, king of the fairies? And he sounds very serious, but it's just because he thinks it's so funny.
I don't think he thinks it's funny. I don't that's not the vibe I got at all.
What is the vibe you got?
He's supposed to be like that, that emotion. I can't describe it. If it's not obvious, I'm having difficulty with my English this evening.
Yeah. But is it just the, like, I don't know, feeling? It's just like a very out-of-pocket thing for him to hear, so he's just going like...
No, I think that this is why I find this scene weird, as I've said earlier. Like, he shows no emotions or no consideration for sensitivity this entire episode. And now he's like, he's not laughing. He's like uncomfortable. And I'm like, why would he be uncomfortable?
He's uncomfortable because he's trying to hold back laughter.
You think so? Are you sure?
Yeah, I mean, he repeats Marion's exact phrasing. Which, like, I feel like to me usually implies that he thinks that there's something, like, funny or peculiar about the exact phrasing. Which, yeah, makes it feel like a holding back laughter thing.
Well, okay. Got it.
But yeah, I don't know. If people have a different read, let us know. Because, I mean, yeah, he hasn't shown himself to care about Dean being raped at all this episode, so.
Yeah. What does Dean say? He just looks over at Sam, right? Like he glares at Sam?
I think he just glares at him and moves on. He asks Marion, like, how do we do things about the fairies? And Marion's like, oh, you want to interact with them? And Dean's like, forcefully interact. And she says to win a fairy's flavor, if you want to win a fairy's favor, you leave a bowl of fresh cream out for them. For more force, they hate iron, they burn when touched with silver, and if you spill sugar or salt in front of them, they have to stoop to count each grain. Yeah, they're about to head out, but she asks them to just stay for a bit to finish their tea. And they just spend this time making fun of her. Like, for her decor, Dean calls it cute-horrific. And Sam asks for a bigger cup, but unfortunately, even though he's a man, he has to drink out of a small one.
Yeah.
They head out, and they're just like, well, that was wild. I don't know what to do next, but maybe let's call Bobby. But they get a lead because they see Mr. Brennan buying a bunch of cream.
A flat of cream. The fuck is a flat? What is a flat?
Like a
cream?
flatbed truck. Like it was like a whole
that's an actual
maybe?
Term. That's fine.
I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Okay.
Like a flat.
A whole apartment of cream
product. I don't know. It could be. I think it was like a whole. Like basically like a crate but bigger, right? Like it was like
a flat crate,
fit, like on the floor of like a flatbed truck's thing. So maybe.
So Sam and Dean split up. Sam's gonna keep an eye on Mr. Brennan, and Dean is gonna go to the watch shop. And as he heads in there, there's just a bunch of creatures, like small guys. Like Thumbelina. Thumbelina is the only a small girl I know. But there's like, and they're all making the watches.
Yeah, and by small we mean like a foot tall, like if shorter.
No, like Thumbelina. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do people still know Thumbelina? I have not heard Thumbelina's name in so long. Who doesn't? A genuine question. Who doesn't know Thumbelina? Because like people. I don't think my 8-year-old would know who Thumbelina is.
That's on you. You could introduce her to Thumbelina at any point.
Literally. Also, my 8-year-old sister. I don't have a child. So Dean calls Sam about it, and he's like, "Well, like he made a deal with a bunch of fairies, so like they would make his watches or something." And so Sam is like, I'm gonna confront this guy. And so he does. And then he goes, "Did I ever mention how beautiful your work is? They're stunning. I just can't figure out how one man can make all of these watches. It's almost like a bunch of elves are working for you to make them. But that's not true, right? Except it is true." A bunch of elves are working for you to make your watches. And he says, like, "Did you decide to trade your son for a bunch of watches? I mean, I assume you have a soul, so what's your excuse?" Love it. Do you think if Sam saw a completely banger ass watch, he'd sell Dean about it? Well, he was going to for a Coke, as was established last episode or last episode.
Is Sam a watch wearer?
I don't think he is.
I don't think so. I haven't seen one on him. He'd sell Dean for a Fitbit.
No, Sam would sell Dean for an Apple Watch or something.
True. He will be an Apple Watch user, just vibes-wise, in later years.
It is so unfortunate that Sam and Dean are on the road Jack Kerouac when Sam is literally, You know that term for the first wave of people to accommodate into a technology? Sam is literally that.
Yeah.
He literally would get an Apple Watch before he would get the Apple visor before everyone else.
Is that a thing? We already had this conversation, maybe. Well, let's stop advertising for Apple. But yeah, I didn't know about that.
Mr. Brennan finally tells Sam they are now like at a booth, because this is now a booth conversation, not a bar conversation. And he says that what happened was he called on the elves simply because like he just wanted to make better watches, or he wants to keep on making watches.
He couldn't, yeah.
But his hand was injured. He
has Parkinson's, so it's not an injury. He has
Parkinson's. Oh. And he knows that like his grandmother like used to say that you can summon fairies. So he summons one, and then he wishes to be able to keep on making watches, and like his hand not, like his Parkinson's not do it anymore.
Yeah, reduce the hand tremors from Parkinson's.
Yeah. He agrees, but he didn't realize that what he was agreeing to was that they were going to take the fruit and the fat of the land, which is the term that they used, and he didn't understand that meant firstborn sons. Like Rumpelstiltskin is the comparison that they make, and I love it so much. Literally like Rumpelstiltskin.
It's true.
Is it firstborn son or is it firstborn? Marion said it was firstborn son. Yeah. And I don't think we did see a girl get taken. And he says that there is a way to reverse the spell, but because the fairies are in the book or in the store, and that's where the book is, he has not been able to get it. What a nightmare situation. What a horrible thing to experience, this thing. But he can see the fairies, just like Dean Winchester. And as we have this conversation, we see Dean get into a whole fiasco where the guy that has been like following him around is there and starts mimicking him as he's walking, which I do think they make this interesting. I don't really know what the purpose of this character is, other than, try to kill Dean later. It's never really explained, is it? You said it was
I don't know. Dean tried to escape, so he's trying to bring him back, I think.
They're just trying to get someone to be like a creepy mime, which is the vibe of this guy. Like he's like a creepy mime. But like he like mimics the way Dean walks. Dean was supposed to tackle him at some point, but then he ends up tackling like a little person. And then he's calling this guy like a little fairy. Fairy, fairy, fairy. Like he keeps on repeating it.
Yeah. Why?
What is up with Ben Edlund? Hey Ben, what's going on?
I don't know.
Yeah.
He just loves a slur. He loves to get to say a slur and to laugh. Yeah. I mean, he loves to go. One that probably say like
every time he
probably
gets to say
fag
slur
to refer to cigarette, right?
Yeah,
like I
think
he
for
just
a fag.
really, yeah. This is an episode where he goes, without a soul as a filter, you will be homophobic and make rape jokes. All the time and disrespect women. Like, this does seem to be a manifestation of him always sort of wanting to say a slur and coming up with plots that allow him to.
Well, so what this is like happening actually pretty near the bar that Sam and Mr. Brennan are in.
Yeah. There are people nearby, and there's a little girl who screams, "Daddy!" And also there's an Asian man there, and he's frowning and shaking his head to show that he disagrees with homophobia and ableism.
And then, the cops show up and arrest Dean as Sam is heading out with Mr. Brennan, and he's saying, like, "Oh, don't worry, my brother and I, like, my brother can see the fairies, like, we can cover for you, etc." But then Dean is being cuffed and arrested, and Sam is saying, like, "Hey, well, like, what's going on?" And Dean just goes, "Just fight those fairies. You fight those fairies. Fight the fairies." What? Like, why? He would not say that shit.
Yeah.
First of all, we already know that it was the fairies. So, like, if it was, like, a reveal, if it was, like, revealed now that, like, oh, it's actually fairies, then this would make sense, except that's not the case. And number two, like, doesn't he already understand that he's in trouble for potentially being a fucking hate crimer? Like, and he did like, I don't know, many things going on in this episode, and all of them, well, some of them bad, but now he's in jail. And as we said, the cop goes, like, "I don't even know what kind of hate crime this was." And Dean goes, "It wasn't a hate crime." And the cop goes, "If this gentleman was a full-size homosexual, would that be okay with you?" And Dean says, "I don't hate any size person or any size gay guy."
Separate categories. So true.
And
the three categories of sapient beings are person, gay guy, and monster.
I kind of do commend Ben Edlund for getting him to say from Jensen Ackles' mouth, "I don't hate any size gay guy." Like, I commend it. It's just, hearing Jensen Ackles say gay is not, I don't know.
Every orientation.
He should have said, "I don't hate any size person or any size person with any orientation."
Yeah, he should have said it's not about the heterosexual or the non-binary.
No, why did Jared Padalecki say that? Why did he say that? Why did he say that? What was the context?
What did he mean? What did he think he was meaning?
I think what he was... No, but why is it, like, heterosexual and non-binary?
Yeah, like, why are those the two?
I think he was trying to say that it's not about gender and sexuality. And of course, the main gender and the main sexuality is heterosexual and non-binary.
And heterosexual.
Yeah. So yeah, Dean is... And the cop goes, "Well, he's not gay as it happens, but he is the district attorney for Tipton County." And they bring this up later as well. Like, at the end of the episode, this is... Well, anyway, Dean goes, like, "I'd say he's done so well for himself considering his..." And then he pauses a bit, and the cop looks at him, and he looks up the cop. And he goes, "Considering the tough economic times."
Ugh. Well, literally, like, Ben Edlund did go, "Wouldn't it be so funny if Dean was perceived as homophobic and ableist?" And then he threw a jail, and Dean immediately was homophobic and ableist.
Well, didn't you see, Crystal? He already said that he doesn't hate any size person any size
gay guy. He paused.
He takes a pause. He goes, "Any size gay guy." For him. Well,
yeah.
The cop doesn't buy it. And so we get a scene of Dean. And I do always love these scenes where someone is like in a room or something and they're just going around doing things in the room, like walking, pacing, lying down somewhere.
Now we cut to Sam and Mr. Brennan going inside his wash shop. And Sam obviously can't see anything, but Mr. Brennan can see that the fairies have all basically fallen asleep, or they're just very tired because they ate all that cream and it sort of knocked them out. So he goes over to his safe and gets the book, and he starts reading it out loud in the shop. Go outside, dude. They can hear you. Maybe you need to be near them for it to work. But yeah, he starts and he gets halfway through and then
he dies.
He
gets killed.
The guy who has been following Dean around stabs him in the back, and we see it as a shot of like the blade going through his front in the middle of him reading. And then that guy transforms into Wayne, the UFO guy Sam was talking to earlier. And he is the leprechaun that made this deal in the first place. Sam's like, wow, you're so smart, because, like, you, like, encourage the UFO stuff so that nobody knows that it's really fairies while you abduct the firstborns. Wayne is like, well, who cares if you know my secret? You're so screwed. And he disappears because he has the power to. And they have an exchange where Wayne is like, I can tell that you're missing your soul because fairy folk are all about energy and the human soul has a certain energy, which I guess is this episode's contribution to the season 6 overall plot. And he says, like, you know, like, I could get your soul back for a price. And Sam says, like, that's impossible because it's locked in a box with the devil. And Wayne says, your devil, not mine. Like, we can do what angels do because we have real magic from fairyland. And Sam's like, okay, sure, I want a wish I want you to fulfill. And he shoots him with an iron bullet. And it's painful, but it doesn't really actually hurt him. And then the rest of this is a continued fight scene where, like, a fairy shows up in, like, I guess the guy that's been following Dean shows up inside his cell and starts beating the shit out of him. Yeah. And it's tense because, oh no, if Sam doesn't banish all the fairies in time, then Dean will die. Yeah. So, yeah, Sam's struggling a lot too. He's losing, and then he remembers to throw a bunch of salt on the floor. And Wayne goes, oh no, and he starts stooping down to count, and Sam goes, why didn't I do that earlier? So true. And while the leprechaun's counting, Sam finishes up the spell, and all the fairies vanish, and Dean's fine. In the last scene, I think this is so interesting. I like this so much because, okay, Sam and Dean are by the car, and Dean offers him a beer, and he goes, nah. And, like, we're so used to the two of them having a beer at the end of a case as, like, a bonding, both of them enjoy this activity. Yeah. And, like, at this point, you realize that Sam only wanted to drink when he had a soul, like, for Dean's feelings. Like, he does not actually enjoy this post-case ritual. Like, there's nothing in him. Like, it was purely sentiment. Like, he doesn't like beer. Earlier, when Dean comes back, Sam pours him a drink and tells him to drink, but he never drinks in this episode. Have we seen Sam, like, Soulless Sam drink in general, in fact?
I'm not sure.
Like, I don't recall it happening. Like, I think he is not into it.
That's interesting. Let's keep on
like
observing
he's purely a social drinker. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, we weren't ableist enough this episode. Let's do it again. So Dean cheers to, quote, the tiniest DA. Because he dropped the charges against Dean. He shouldn't have. And then Sam goes, little big man. Why? Why? I mean,
No.
why is ableism?
No, like, it's just, we have talked about how, like, Supernatural has a tendency to do things where they would have a person who is not their usual fare of character in Supernatural and do a big deal of, like, pointing out such. And, like, here, obviously, like, they put in a little person here so that Dean can hate crime the guy. Which is already insane. But, like, post-hate crime too, it's the only thing about him. Like, post-hate crime? What's going on?
What the fuck is going on? And then they move on, because Dean's like, do you think the leprechaun really could have, like, gotten your soul back? And Sam's like, no, probably not. And Dean's like, I mean, why did you say no? And Sam just says, like, because it's a deal, and deals are bad, and blah, blah, blah. And Dean's like, okay, sure. But I think it's because you secretly don't want your soul back. And Sam's like, what? No, that's crazy. And then the episode ends.
Literally. I mean, are we supposed to be on Dean's side of suspicion or on Sam's side of Dean? I can't believe you would be suspicious.
That's his I think we're supposed to be on Dean's side, even though I don't think that not wanting to get his soul back had anything to do with Sam killing the leprechaun. Definitely. I think we are supposed to suspect, because Sam's questions this episode have all been like, why do I have to do that? Like, having a soul is literally just suffering. Like, okay. So yeah, that's the episode.
Yeah, well, what did we think of it?
I did not like it particularly.
It's less fun than I was led to believe it would be, given that it is a very famously funny episode, or known to be as such. I do think it proposes interesting things and funny things about Sam's characterization as soulless Sam, but not in a way that continues on the more interesting aspects of the season, and also it absolutely lacks subtlety on it. Yes. And, like, Supernatural is not the kind of show where you demand subtlety, but, like, it's nice when it happens.
Yeah, I appreciate subtlety.
Like, when it happens, they do it good sometimes. And so, it is a little bit sad that they don't do it good this time.
Yeah.
Or they don't do it at all. Best line, worst line? My best line is, in fact, it will be in the dark. He's so real for that. It would be in the dark. Yeah. It's like sometimes when I go to sleep, when I'm supposed to be doing something, and I turn the light on. So I'm, like, asleep with the light on. I'm like, I'm not working, but, like, I'm asleep with the light on. So why?
Yeah, you are.
I am.
Yeah, I also like that exchange. Just in general, the whole conversation about, are you supposed to just sit there in the dark and suffer even when there's nothing that can be done at the moment?
I do suppose I also like that Dean brings up Lisa. Because we haven't Sam really seen... Yeah, that Sam does. Yeah. Because we haven't really seen it be around that much. Or, like, we have, but always, like, always, like, Dean checking his phone. And we've never really spoken about it. Like, in Supernatural. Supernatural hasn't really addressed it in that way. And so it's fun for it to be addressed, I would say.
Yeah, I suppose so. Lisa, please pick up. It's so hard to explain that I was a vampire. We need to meet up so I can tell you the one sentence, I was a vampire.
Literally.
Worst line, probably, there's a lot.
There is a lot.
There's a lot of them. I feel like everyone knows what the worst lines are. They're just all the ableist and homophobic ones.
Yeah. I did severely dislike Did You Service Oberon, the King of the Fairies. And I also don't like the fact that that's a semi-famous fandom line.
It is.
Yeah. And also, like, the implications on Sam's character of that line, I also don't like. Spread sheets. Spread those sheets.
Wow.
Well, we have quite a bit.
Okay.
We kind of already
Recordings?
do have a honorary category of ableism.
Yeah.
I said, I think at the end of season 5 that we were going to add it for real, but we didn't end up doing
forgot.
so. We literally forgot. But that's okay. We can just remain it to be honorary.
Okay. Misogyny.
So, misogyny. I do think there
Sam
is a
doesn't respect
misogynistic...
women.
Yes, but there is also a misogynistic attitude behind the way they treat Marion.
Yeah.
So, I would say I'd give this... It's casual enough.
Yeah.
I'd give it 2 or 1.
Yeah, I was thinking 1. 'Cause I think, yeah.
Racism.
I don't remember any.
I did say it was culturally insensitive.
Yes.
But I am not putting in.
Yeah, I mean, the fairies that they make fun of in this episode are pretty Western culture.
Yeah, but I don't know.
It
the
does
gender, like,
reflect.
why are we making monsters gendered? There's like, and it's always like egregious too, like the fact that witches are like the girl monsters. And they're bitches, like Dean loves to say that.
Okay, I'm gonna up the misogyny to 2 now that I think about it more. But yeah, nothing on racism, or?
I would say nothing on racism.
Homophobia.
This has
I think it's
got
intrinsic.
to be. It's intrinsic. I would say it's a 4.
Yeah, I was thinking 4 too.
Yeah.
All right.
And I do think the ableism is the same. It's also a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good job, Ben Edlund. If we add the honorary points, then you have 10 this episode.
Go, Ben. Love that.
Go, Ben.
Well, IMDb. I am that DB.
am.
This is 609. So it's odd. It's your turn.
I mean, this is iconic regarding the humor, or I've seen people talk about it a lot, but I also think it's not good. So
yeah. The episode, it's an iconic episode, but not because of the quality of it. It's the thing. It's about other things.
Yeah. So, 8.1.
Okay. 8.1. I'm gonna go higher than you because I do believe in the power of
humor.
Of humor. I would go 8.4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. It's an 8.3.
Good job. I'm losing
Thank you.
so hard this season.
Yeah. A funny joke with the X-Files. What is the deal with X-Files? What is the twist of it? That it's actually aliens?
I think it's
when
aliens.
They think it's the FBI shit.
Okay, this person says that this was funny, but they're missing good old Sammy now, and I hope they don't stretch it any further because it would turn the humor into sheer annoyance.
This one says that it was interesting to see Supernatural tackle fairy lore, which actually has a lot more horror potential than most people realize. And they talk a bit about how, like, it was the Victorians who started to romanticize them and then Disney. But if you read some of the older tales or listen to still current ones in rural Ireland or Scotland, fairies are anything but cute and harmless. I wonder, they don't do a Filipino lore situation at any point in Supernatural. They do an Indonesian one.
Do they?
I'm pretty sure. In the Chitters, they had an Indonesian monster. I do think this has been, I don't know if I've mentioned this in the podcast before, but like the global, lore of stuff like this is so rich, I would say, especially in Southeast Asia. It's like, I think we are a region that is famously like people believe in that shit. And I've actually read some papers on this where the take is that when you're in a country with that much colonial and also like dictatorship violence and there's a lot of censorship, it happens that like your mythical lore or like the mystical creature and like haunted and ghost shit is like much higher. I think I've said in this podcast that I like actively believe in ghosts and creatures and stuff. I don't know. Like, it's not like I want Supernatural to tackle them. But like, I do like for this one specifically, like I understand that there are people who believe in this, and so I feel a little bit more like this is more akin to me to when obviously it's a different thing, but this is like closer to me when they make fun of like gods than they do of like when they talk about vampires or werewolves. I think that's where my pushback against it is coming from.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Even though it's not like, obviously not from my culture. But, yeah.
Yeah.
This one says, I believe, clap, 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 clap emoji. That's pretty fun. But I think it's an incredibly funny episode. Not true. Not funny.
Not true. For some reason, I like the first episodes in season 6 where Sam has no soul. When he is normal, he is a more weak and always end himself up being hit by the monsters. Sam got hit pretty hard in this episode too.
Robert Picardo from Star Trek is here.
Oh.
Who is that guy? Robert Picardo. Oh, he is from Star Trek Voyager, which I have not seen. That's fun that they put him in here. He was Mr. Brennan. Or was he the leprechaun? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
That's it for this episode of Busty Asian Beauties. Next week, you'll be discussing Season 6, Episode 10, Caged Heat. Leave us a rating or a review wherever you get your podcast.
Follow us on social media. We are on Tumblr at bustyasianbeautiespod.tumblr.com. Our official tag is BABPod, B-A-B-Pod. Thanks to everyone who's donated to our Ko-fi. Oh, especially that last person. Thank you.
Oh my god, that's very nice. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I guess you said that you were just finishing season 1 when you gave us that money. So it's going to be a long time before you get here, if you even do. But thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you to everyone who's donated to our Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/bustyasianbeautiespod, which is where our outtakes live. And check out our merch at babpod.redbubble.com.
You can email us any feedback, comments, or inquiries at bustyasianbeautiespod@gmail.com. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.